Now in this video series, I still have the moving selection lines around the baby, but let's imagine that you don't. Let's imagine that somewhere along the way you've hit select none and the moving lines are gone. And now you're wondering, how am I going to deal with the background? So let's just zoom out a little bit. Oh, undo that. Edit, undo, there we go. So let's zoom out a little bit. And if I take a look at the background, I can see that I've got a wall here. I've got a blanket here. I'm not really sure what this darker area is here. Could be shadow from the blanket, which it most likely is. It could be another blanket in the background. But what I want us to do at this point is I want us to think about, if I create a new layer and call it wall tone, then really I could, well, let's just do this completely bizarre way. I'm going to choose a lovely shade of brown, and maybe I'll lighten it up a little bit. Okay, choosing a lovely shade of brown. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go on my wall tone layer. We'll put that right up to the top. So there's my wall tone layer up at the top, and I'm going to fill this with brown. And you can see that's clearly not what I wanted. So if I go to my skin tone layer here, so I'll just make that invisible for a second. If I go to my skin tone layer, you can see that there's all this area out here that's not selected. So if I click in the background, it highlights around all this area out here. So if I go back to my wall tone layer and make that visible, all I need to do is keep what I've got selected, which means I want to delete what's inside. So I invert my selection. Select, invert. Now you can see only the baby is selected, not the outside edge. And when I hit the delete key on my keyboard, then this is the area that's now gone. So we only need to add one more step to this. Well, I suppose first we need to change this to a color mode, of course. And we could bring the opacity down, I suppose. But let's leave it high for now, because it makes it really obvious. What we want to do is we want to erase with a nice solid eraser. I'll choose that one. And let's set it nice and big. How about 50 for now? Okay, so I'm going to erase the blanket. Now, here I am erasing and nothing's happening. Why is nothing happening? Well, it's because I've got the wall tone layer selected, but I still have the selection going around the baby. And there's nothing in that area. You can see it's transparent where the baby is, and the wall color is outside of the selection. So fine, select none. There we go. And now I can erase this part. I'm not going to erase the whole thing, simply because I'm just going to do the easy part right now. Okay. There we go. I've erased the easy part, and then I'm going to come back with a much bigger eraser and just clean this up. Oh, and a much harder circle. There we go. And now anything that I touch on this layer will be erased. Now you'll notice that I intentionally did not erase in here. Okay. I've left that open because I think there's a little bit of background there and a little bit of background, sorry, a little bit of background there and a little bit of background there. So I'm not erasing that. So now my wall tone, if you look at the picture in the thumbnail, is just wall tone. And if I bring that down, you can see I can make it less or more. But I want to make sure the baby's color is more obvious than the wall's color. Okay. Last thing, let's do the same thing for the blanket. So instead of wall tone, we're going to call it blanket tone. Still keeping it transparent. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing as before. I'm just going to choose a random blue color. That'll do. And I'm going to bucket fill the entire blanket tone There it is. It's gone. So now what I want to do again, let's just turn that off, is I want to select the baby. Okay, so I can just go to the select tone, click on the baby. Now it's kind of a weird looking selection, but that's okay. Now when I go back to my blanket, let's make that blanket visible and hit delete. Well, okay, that is kind of creepy. Let's fix that. So select none, eraser, and there we go. That's a little less creepy. Okay. And now for the blanket, I want to keep the bottom part, but get rid of the wall. Well, I already have a wall selection. So why not take advantage of all my hard work there? Okay. If I go to my wall selection and click on the wall, it selects my wall area. That's fantastic, because now I can go to my blanket area. It's still got my wall area selected. Press delete, and the only thing left is my blanket. Awesome. Now, if I don't like that, I can go back and color more wall in. I can color more wall in down there instead of blanket, or I can just leave this, set my blanket. Oh, let's select none here, so it's gone away. Set my blanket to a color mode. Bring my opacity down. There we go. All right. And now I've got a more obviously blue blanket, a more obviously brown wall, and a more obviously pink baby. Okay, a little bit too obviously, a little bit not obviously enough. So we bring it back somewhere in the middle. Okay, and remember to save your work.